Welcome to another episode of Talking Shop. I've got my friend Steve Carrigg here, and we just had an awesome conversation. I'm very upset that I did not record beforehand, talking about mentorships and how to find a good mentor. And this is something that I've written about before, and I'm a very big advocate of mentorship. So maybe down the road we'll recreate that and record it. But that's not the topic for today's Talking Shop. Today's Talking Shop is about navigating working from home and how and everything there. So Steve, first off, how are you and family and everybody doing?
We're doing pretty well. Luckily, everyone's staying healthy. So we're just outside of Boston now. So luckily, it's a little bit crazy, but not too bad. Everybody's trying to keep high spirits best we can. My dad owns his own company, so he's running all over the place right now, working a lot, trying to keep everything going. But for the most part, everybody's doing pretty well. How about you guys over there?
We're managing. You heard Silas screaming on the way up to go take a nap. We're finally getting some nice weather. So last week was cold and rainy and just real crummy. And so today we got like sun and 60. So the boys are outside playing. They have e-learning Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So today is kind of an extended weekend for them. And I've talked about on a bunch of the videos, like just trying to find the balance has been the hardest thing. I wrote that blog post when things first kind of came down, talking about how we're going to be getting a gift of some time. And I thought that no practice, no games, no running around, I'd have more time to do things. But I'm finding that with trying to strike a balance between my wife working, me working, e-learning, watching the boys, I think I actually have less time during normal hours than I did when I was working regular. So afternoons for me are client meetings. So when we get done today, this is in between meetings. I've got 3 client meetings this afternoon, squeeze them all in between 12 and 4 to get it all done. So, but all in all, I can't complain. Everybody's healthy. We're doing well. My wife's business is still open, so definitely can't complain. So, how are your clients doing through all of this? How are they managing this?
Good. I mean, one of the things is thank God for the technology that we have now. I mean, if this happened 10 to 15 years ago, it would be, I guess a phone call is still something. You'd be mailing packages and stuff, but and actually being able to have the face-to-face interaction with Zoom or whatever medium you're using has been huge. And I think the clients are kind of on on a spectrum of it. Some of the older clients are there. Some of them are okay because they're a little bit lower on the risk spectrum, anyways. I found some of the younger clients are a little more stressed out because this is kind of their first time dealing with this. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of like that 30 to 40-ish. I've actually gotten more phone calls from them than I have from the older crowd. So I think they've been a little stressed out. Kind of the 40 to 50s, those guys are okay. But then like the 55 to 65, they're nearing retirement. So they're kind of like, oh, this just hurt a little bit. So I found 2 little buckets are a little stressed out, and then 2 little buckets that are kind of doing okay. So I found that to be kind of interesting. Interesting seeing that.
I found the same with the younger professionals. My theory to that is, even though they might remember 2008, it's a different scenario. You come through 12 years, maybe 11 years coming out 2009. They're making more money. They have more money invested. They have families. So it's a totally different experience than when they were just getting out of college. And yeah, it stung, but they didn't have as much, to lose or as much riding on what they're doing now. So I saw the same thing. A lot of those clients initially they were worried about talking about portfolios and things of that sort. And I think it's a quick conversation to ease those fears. And then really it's okay, how do we protect your income? Because that, as a young professional, is your most valuable asset. So are you in a job that you could be furloughed, and kind of preparing ahead of time? So the tough thing is that those things, we have those conversations early on. They kind of go away for a little while, and figuring that game plan out in the moment is not always the easiest thing to do, because if it is a situation where they have lost their job and they didn't prepare well, say it's somebody new coming in, there's not a lot of options right there. So I'm in the same camp of what I saw with younger clients versus older clients. As a young advisor, you're 28. How are you personally handling all of this?
Yeah, I think for the past couple of years, I would get these advisors that would say things like, "Oh, you've never seen a downturn." It's like, all right, yeah, I mean, I guess you're right. I had 2 parents that owned companies through it, so I saw from a different lens in 2008. But now, actually dealing with clients, I think personally, what I've done is I just tried to stick to some sort of a schedule. I just try to say, hey, I'm normally like a 5 a.m. wake up type kid, but now maybe I'm 6 o'clock and I'm getting a workout in, and I'm just trying to stick to some sort of a routine. I wrote about it on my blog on Friday. I just have to stick to some sort of a routine to try to separate yourself a little bit. When all you do is you walk from your kitchen or from your bedroom to your kitchen, and there you go. You're working for the day. You get your sweatpants on. It's just like there's no separation of church and state. You're always in it. And I've always had a bad habit of checking emails right before bed. Terrible thing to do. Don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And right when I wake up, and now it's just like it's totally ingrained in everything. It's all you're doing all day, every day. You're not working 9 to 5, and then you go home. Maybe you're starting work at like 8, but then you're taking a little bit of a break, but then you're checking emails well into the night and doing things well into the night. So for me, the biggest thing has just been trying to stick to some sort of a schedule to keep some sort of normalcy going on in my life.
So from a perspective of being an advisor though, and leading people through this, how's that going? First time really dealing with anything like this as an advisor. Like you said, you saw your parents handle it, but it's one thing to see family and kind of get through that as a consumer or a client. It's another where you have clients who are looking to you for guidance and recommendations and hand holding. How are you handling that?
The biggest thing is just trying to stop from making huge mistakes. I have one client who's like 33. He was one of those young professionals that we were just talking about. He left one job, went to the other, rolled over an IRA with like 250 grand in it, and he saw that kind of drop down, and he panicked. And he said, I was like, should I go to cash? I'm like, let's not do that. And it's just trying to help people make good long-term decisions and say, hey, look, historically, if you did that, you can miss out on this. Like even in 2018, we had clients that if you went to cash in December when everything went bad, I mean, look how 2019 was pretty good.
Right.
And so it's really just trying to keep things on a level playing field and doing a lot of coaching and trying to say, hey, I'm in this with you too. We're going to try to, if we can do any sort of tax loss selling, we're going to do it. If there's anything that gets out of whack, we're going to do it. But for the most part, I think we're just trying to keep people in the game. If we have to take a little bit of risk off the table just to keep them confident, then I don't see any issues in that. But that's really what we're trying to do from an advisor standpoint is be there with them, coach them, and try to understand what's going on. And I think having a younger client base and me being a younger advisor, I think does help because I think I can relate to them a little bit more than an older advisor saying, "Oh, this is what happens." There's just a little bit more of a relationship that I think that can go back and forth with it.
Well, I'll tell you, you're getting a lot of valuable experience through this. So the next time, because there'll be, at 28, you're going to have a couple of these that you live through as a professional. The next time it comes up, you're going to have that confidence. I've started and trying to encourage people to start journaling and just like writing down emotions and thoughts that you're having in the moment, so that the next time it does come, you can kind of go back. Like you'll remember. Like I remember 2008, but it would have been a lot nicer to remember exactly what I was feeling on September 15th when Lehman's going under and all that stuff. So I started doing that, and I was really focusing on a little bit of like historical. So, today they passed the CARES Act, and here's what the government did, but really focusing on here's what my clients are saying and feeling. Here's what I'm feeling. Like here's the anxiety that I'm having or I'm not having, and kind of just watching that roller coaster go through. And even just going back and looking over the last month's worth of writing, you can kind of see how things have even changed just in that short period of time. So if you're not, that may be something worth doing that'll help future Steve down the road.
No, I love that. That's a good idea. I've always been told to journal and write notes. My whole life, she's always told me to do that. And going through something like that would be good advice. That is good advice to write stuff like that down and go back. That's really good.
Journaling is one of those things that if you don't do it, people make fun of. Like it's one of those things that highly successful like CEOs do, those checklists that we make fun of. And yeah. I am slowly finding myself adding each one of those checks to my own personal routine. And what I realized is the reason that those successful CEOs do those things, meditate, work out, it's because they work. And I'm actually going to write a blog post hoping that coming from me, who's not a CEO of a big company, saying, hey, learn from me now and do these things that we all make fun of because they actually work. I would have been somebody who had made fun of journaling and meditating, and now I'm doing it both, and I see why. I get it. So yeah, definitely start journaling. Well, so that was my tip for you and everybody else watching and listening. Always want to end with a tip of something that you've been doing that has been provided success for you through navigating this. So you mentioned having a routine and kind of trying to create that separation between church and state. Is that what you want to recommend, or do you have anything else to share?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big one there. I think it's so important being able to do that, to separate yourself. But then don't underestimate the idea of sending something to your clients. Like we have an older base of clients too, and some of them got locked down and couldn't see their family. So we picked like the top 20 oldest clients. Our oldest is 103,
Wow.
and we went all the way down. Yeah, and we sent like a gift basket of we put in some chocolates in there, some I don't know. There was just a random some puzzles, just things like that, and then with a handwritten note in there, as we kind of talked about beforehand, the power of a handwritten note.
Mm-hmm.
And they loved it. I mean, it was we got calls for days of them just saying, "Hey, thank you so much for doing that. That made my day," because they were lonely. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
right now they're really locked down, and so I would say don't underestimate the power of just sending something to somebody, and maybe you get a smile on their face.
That's a great idea. That's great. 103. She's 100% equities too, right? Just kidding. Don't say anything. Just kidding. All right, Steve. Well, hey, I appreciate your time. I think this was a great, another edition of Talking Shop with some great information, and always encouraging just to see that we have some young, great advisors coming up the ranks to continue our profession moving forward. So I appreciate the time, the willingness to share what you're experiencing and some recommendations as well. So I'll let you get back to your day. Everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we will see you all in the next episode.